Hello everyone and welcome. For today, Clutchmeister and I will be creating a Dominion tier list. This project has been in the works for some time and it is finally in a good enough stage for me to make it public. First and foremost, who are we to be making a tier list? Well, I and Clutchmeister have been competitive players for years now, and on top of that, Clutchmeister is the person with the most tournament victories in the whole game, having made a reputation for himself since Season 1. We are both part of Nemesis Esports, the team that has won first place in Dominion Series 1 and is regarded as one of the best teams in the whole world. Second of all, Clutchmeister and I have worked hard to get to this tier list, so one thing I would like to ask of you is to go ahead and check out his Twitch channel. He is a daily For Honor streamer and in my opinion has the best place to learn about how to play For Honor at a competitive level. The third thing I want to mention is that this tier list is quite likely to change in the future. Therefore, I'll put a link in the description where you can always check the most up-to-date version. And the last thing that has to be said is that we're also including the fit bans from Dominion Series rule set. Basically, meaning no smoke bomb, no Pugyo, and no duplicate tier 4s. Alright? So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, and I'm here with Clutchmeister now, and we're gonna start ordering the characters. First of all, we have 6 tiers. I've given them a label, so you can understand it better. For example, S tier is mandatory, and the last tier is unusable. And every tier has a label, and I will explain it more once I place the character. First of all, welcome Clutchmeister. Very happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Right. So we're gonna start placing the characters. First of all, we're gonna start with S tier. Sure, nobody is surprised by this, but we're gonna put Warlord here. Warlord, the character that has been has had 100% pick rate for the last how many seasons? 2 seasons, 3 seasons?
Yeah, I think it's like at least 3 seasons.
And the guy has like one of the best ledge potential in the game right now. He's one of the best team fighters. He has the best feats. He has Juggernaut, which is super insane. Like you'll notice that a lot of characters with Juggernaut are very good, and he has very good option specs as well. What else does he have to bring in a team, Mr. Clutchmeister?
I mean, the fact that he has Rush on tier 1 also allows him to rotate extremely quickly and be everywhere where he's needed. And considering how good of a team fighter he is, combined with the fact like how good he is at stalling, not just with Juggernaut, but also with Fury, and the fact you can overlap these feats, you can pop the Jug, wait for the 10 seconds, then pop your Fury, so you're still getting that damage mitigation, so you can rotate to your teammates, you can pop Rush, quickly rotate to a point, maybe force a back cap, and then because of your increased movement speed, you're going to get there before someone else. You might be able to steal it quickly, and then you can use your feats to stall out the gank whilst your team rotate to help you out. It just allows him to be exactly where you need him to be. And especially considering as the meta has developed and teams have started to go 2 and 2 on the side points if they control both side points. On maps, say like High Fort or Temple Garden, where the side points are very far away from each other, that rush feat allows him to rotate even on those larger maps very quickly, which is a very important part of his tool set as well. So as you said, he's just extremely well-rounded without any weaknesses.
Yeah. And on top of it, he also has like the best ledge in the game, which is very important. It's still unnerved, and if people master it, you can get so much value out of it.
I think he's probably the only character who can actually gank people who pop Juggernaut with Crashing Charge, if there's ledges on the point.
I mean, not gank, but like waste their time. He's also like big stamina bully. Like, for example, someone pops Juggernaut, you can just charge him into the wall a couple of times and you make them go OS. Mm-hmm. Technically, like, if you truly master Crashing Charge, you have so much potential with Warlord. Like, you can actually ledge people from literally everywhere. Just have to be good enough at it. So yeah, I'm sure there's no surprise here on Warlord.
Yeah.
Sure. Alright, next character. It's actually the character you're playing right now. It's Shugonki. Where is he? Here. Alright. So Shugonki. He has been reworked, so he hasn't been here in the meta but the changes that were made for him basically placed him right now and placed him S tier, and now every team runs him. Why do you think it's that?
All right, so I'll start off with just his core mechanics before getting onto his feats. So first of all, he has this new super sprint, which basically works exactly like Shinobi's. Obviously, it was bugged for quite a long time. They were supposed to fix it on PC yesterday, or at least when we're recording this video, it was supposed to come out yesterday, but it's still not out on PC. But even when that bug with the tier 1 gets fixed, which allowed you to infinitely sprint, he's still going to have very fast rotation speeds, which is a very important thing to have for Shigoki, because like Warlord, he is extremely well rounded. He's very good in team fights. He's not the safest team fighter in the game, and he's not the best, but his damage on his chain side blockables is pretty crazy. It's 36 damage. They're very big hitboxes. They can hit a very wide angle around himself, and if you've got a good team with you, either hit stunning people so you can hit people that your target swapped on so they can't avoid your heavies. Maybe someone gets a bash in to confirm the damage. If you hit one, maybe two people, that's either 36 or 72 damage you've landed. Yes, you're probably going to eat some kind of peel whilst you're doing it, but that's how you play the Shigoki, right? He has 140 health. He deals so much damage. You're looking for those efficient trades. He's also really good in 1v1s. He has the side dodge headbutt now, which is an extremely strong defensive tool. Allows him to punish pretty much every single bash in the game in reaction. So if you're up against a Warlord, the Warlord has to risk being headbutted every single time he tries to be aggressive. And the Shigoki gets to go into his chain heavy after the headbutt. So you're either going to get a bit of chip, or if they try to parry and they get the wrong timing, you'll hit them with a raw chain heavy, or maybe you'll get a mix up with the unblockable heavy. His 1v1 potential has gotten so much better after the rework, and much like Warlord, he also has Juggernaut, which means that he's able to stall. Now that he also has bashes, like for example, he has the in-chain bash, he has the side dodge bashes, and he also has a dodge forward bash now. These are very important for stalling and anti-ganking, whether it's to use a bash to stuff a guard break attempt. He then has the chain heavy to punish attempted guard breaks. So he can use these for mind games to really slow down either guard break attempts or bash attempts, and to try and get those revenge tags on himself when he doesn't have Juggernaut up. And then he also has that Juggernaut to get a guaranteed 10 seconds of stall, which is really powerful in the current meta when you have gankers like Centurion and Gladiator who deal so much damage off of a single mistake. It's just such a powerful tool to have. So as I mentioned, he's a very good team fighter, has really fast rotations, really good 1v1s and stalling, pretty much like Warlord. He doesn't have something like Crashing Charge, which is what puts Warlord above him. Warlord does have that little extra edge. But Shigoki, if we start talking about his feats now, has potentially one of, if not the strongest tier 4 in the game. I think the only tier 4 feat, when used by itself, that can really compare to the power of this feat is Warmonger's tier 4. His tier 4 is insane. If you have a Centurion with you, it's a guaranteed one-shot on guard break. If you're in a team fight, you just tell your team to GB for you. You can either just heavy into them safely, or if you think the enemy team is going to notice you have popped this feat and is going to be trying to peel you, you just use your zone attack, which has very fast high prom startup, and then you're probably going to also knock down the people who try to peel you. So not only are you going to get, like a guaranteed either 36 side damage unblockable or 38 top unblockable, your team are also going to be landing heavies off of it. So off of just one single guard break, you're almost completely deleting someone out of a team fight, and it lasts 45 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. You can basically have a fight on a C point. The fight will be over pretty quickly because of how powerful the feat is, and then you will have enough time to the other side of the map and still be able to get a quick gank off, or maybe even kill two people with it, because it lasts 45 seconds. If we think back to some of the overpowered tier 4 feats that got nerfed duration-wise because they were deemed to have lasted too long, for example, like Morale Booster or Scout, which used to last for 30 seconds, this feat lasts an extra 50% longer at 45 seconds, and its potential is even higher. It's actually insane, not just how powerful this feat is, but also just how well it synergizes with Shigoki's toolset. It's crazy, and on top of all these things already mentioned, he has really good gank setups with Centurion as well. He doesn't just have one, but two 100% gank setups, whether he lands his headbutt first or a Centurion manages to land a blocked heavy. It's a guaranteed death, I think, even on 140 health characters, which even Gladiator didn't have pre-patched. So he's a very powerful character at the moment.
He also has one shots with Gladiator. Pretty sure. Like
He also. Yeah, he definitely does do a lot of damage. Thanks to how much damage he just does naturally on his heavies, he can just get so much damage off on those skewer ganks as well. It's very scary. He does damage comparable to what Nobushi does with bleed already applied, except he doesn't need any kind of prerequisite to deal that damage. He just always deals that much damage.
So basically, so far we have 2 S tier characters that are very good in every situation, and on top of it have really busted fits as well, which made them mandatory and may I say need to be nerfed. Alright, so that's it with S tier. We have these 2 characters. Every competitive team runs them right now. In Warlord and Shogunki, they have 100% pick rate. So we're gonna move down to S-, which is a tier for ganker characters. So basically, every ganker is a Dominion role that is a specialist character that is very good in 2v1ing people. And we have multiple characters that are good at this and have certain abilities that can help, but there are 2 that stand out very much. And there's Centurion first, and then there's Gladiator. Every team has to pick at least 1. You can pick 2, you can pick them both, but once you already have a ganker, it's not that advantageous to have another, because you can use that 4th spot to put a specialist character in another domain. But every composition, as I said, requires to have 1. First of all, we put Centurion first, even though Gladiator got reworked and had some buffs and nerfs, and in the last Dominion qualifier he had 100% pick rate. There was one change that made him not necessarily significant worse than Centurion, but you can definitely notice a difference between their ganking prowess. So right now, most teams run Centurion. Sure, there are teams that still play Gladiator, but Centurion does seem to be favorable when it comes to ganker choices. The reason for that is that he is the one character that truly has one-shot ganks with everyone. Gladiator, if you do... Not every setup is a one-shot. They have the chance to fit revenge, because the skewer does 40 revenge, which before you used to do 1 revenge, therefore you could have setups where you'd apply a lot of bleed damage and not have the person get revenge before they die. But now that bleed feeds a lot of revenge, and because it's not instant damage, once they get revenge and they pop it, that bleed was useless. That bleed didn't apply any damage, because the person is gonna pop revenge and they're gonna get the shields, and the bleed, instead of eating their health, is gonna eat their shields, which is not really advantageous for Gladiator. But Gladiator has one thing going for him that is above Centurion, and that is his teamfight prowess. And 1vx prowess. Like, he's also better 1vxer than Centurion. He's also, I wouldn't say necessarily better 1v1er. They have 2 different styles of fighting in 1v1. Centurion is a character that can deplete someone's health very quickly, while Gladiator is a character that forces every opponent to play slow, because he has big, very fast backwalk speed, and you are not allowed to chase him, like forward dodge against him or forward dodge, as you're gonna get punished every time. He has good 1v1 capabilities, like even better than Centurion. Centurion just has the potential to kill you very fast. He also has better running speed, which helps him a lot in 1vx. What do you think I've missed, Mr. Clutchmeister?
You covered a lot of it pretty well. I think Another thing that kind of edges out Gladiator with Centurion is the fact that his tier 4 is also really good. Like Phalanx, obviously that's not to say that Fear itself isn't a really good feat. Fear itself can still win a team fight. It's just that for Phalanx, it can be used to counter feats like Fire Flask. Like even a Fury Flask, a Phalanx Shield will pretty much eat all of the damage, or at least a vast majority of the damage. You can use it against feats like Fear itself to basically give your entire team a safety net against it. Or if, for example, Jean Hu, another character that's come into the meta, if he uses his tier 4 feat, you pop Phalanx down, it's going to eat all of that damage. And because it's map wide, you can use it in a various range of situations. Let's say there's a 2v2 going on one point, and then there's another 2v2 on another point. Let's say one of your teammates dies or gets really low in another 2v2. You can pop your Phalanx. You'll be able to get use out of it, as well as helping your team across the map. There's a lot of utility to it, and it's really powerful at countering a lot of feats, as well as just giving a lot of extra stall time, which in the meta with these two characters who have such incredibly powerful ganks is a very important tool to have. They both have similar tier 2s, right, with like getting the extra damage off of the bashes and the throws, but Centurion does get a little bit more out of his, because whenever he gets a GB near a wall, he can get the 3 ticks of it guaranteed on a wall splat, and then it also, every mix-up he has is truly unreactable, unlike Gladiators. So he gets like a very big power spike in 1v1 situations, as you mentioned, regarding killing people very quickly. And the tier 3 feats, Gladiator's Trident is good. It's a pretty fast animation for a 50 damage feat. Obviously synergizes really well with Fear itself, because it just makes it deal 75, which is a crazy amount of damage. And it also synergizes with his tier 1 feat, Bounty Hunter. But Centurion does have Second Wind in his tier 3 slot. Yes, it's not going to kill anyone, but it can really save the Centurion a lot of times, whether it's from a Gladiator gank, whether it's from a Fire Flask, whether it's from Jean Hu's tier 4, whether he's been, say, GB to Cobra Strike. If he's low health against an Ibushi, you can just pop the Second Wind, cleanse it, and also get extra healing out of it. So his tier 3 is also really, really good in the current meta. If the meta ever changes to where there's less fire feats or less general damage over time in the meta, the direct damage feats do take prevalence. For example, at the moment, the Bushi's run Second Wind more often than the bow, but if the meta ever changes to where there's less, they start running the bow because it becomes better. So the 2 tier 3s are pretty close, but I would say Second Wind is slightly better than the Trident currently. So Centurion, I think, does have the better feats overall, which is another thing that helps him be slightly better than Gladiator.
All right. Sounds pretty good. I also want to mention that he runs Second Wind because, he would usually run Pugyo, but because Pugyo is banned, he's forced to run another tier 3, which leaves the best choice out of the last 2. I don't remember what is his other tier 3, which is Second Wind. But if you'd have Pugyo, I think you'd agree with me here, I'd put him here. But right now, Pugyo is banned, so he has some competition in ganking with Gladiator. Obviously, Pugyo is insane. It can basically one-shot someone in a team fight easily. And in a gank, and is one of the best tier 3s in the game. Alright, we're gonna move down to A tier. Very good picks. This usually what you will see is the characters that we're gonna put here are the 4th picks from a team composition. So basically you must have these 2 if you're gonna play in competitive and actually want to have a good chance at winning. Then you're gonna have to pick one of these 2 based off preference. And now you have to fill out the 4th spot. And the 4th spot is usually taken by a big team fighter or one character that has really good fits to help team fight. So basically still a team fighter. And first character that is gonna be put here is Sun Hu, the character that just got a rework. He's probably second best team fighter right now, maybe after Nobushi. He has very good fits. He has very good 1v1. He's very good in mid as well, which is important because if you take these characters in composition, nobody is really good in mid, but the characters that are gonna be A and B are really, really good in mid. And outside that, he's just very good in every domain. He's obviously not broken like these characters. Like for example, they have something that is truly outstanding. Like for example, Warlord Crash in Charge. Shigoki has his tier 4, which is insanely good. These characters are just very good, but don't have that insane advantage these two characters have. So for example, if tier 4 gets nerfed on Shigoki, he'd be like on the same level as Zanhu. But because he has that insane advantage, we have Zanhu who is we have Shigonki who is like has to be S tier. He is mandatory. What else have I missed on Zanhu?
Zanhu also has a really good setup with Centurion. With his bash into unblockable heavy, he can actually get a guaranteed jab just off of the heavy itself, as well as getting another guaranteed double hit. So he also possesses a 100% gank combo with Centurion, which is extremely good. Which some other characters don't really have. You know, like for example, if we look at Kensei. If we look at Warmonger requires her second light to not be parried in the gank setup to get 100% off with a Centurion, which most people aren't going to let happen. Whereas Zanhu can just guarantee it. He's not as long as he gets the timing correct with his teammate, it's completely unavoidable if the actual bash lands, which obviously is a really strong thing to have, particularly when you get the winner's advantage tier 2 feat. It just means you're getting even more damage on the gank setup, which is a very, very good thing to have.
One second. For context, if you do not know the bash he's talking about right now, it's bash into light for Centurion to pin, and afterwards, off the pin, Zanhu is going to do a top heavy unblockable, which if you have winner's advantage is 49 damage, which is insane damage, by the way. And of the hits on of unblockable, Centurion can get actually a fully charged punch to knock the enemy on the ground, and then allow Zanhu and Centurion to get another heavy each one on the same timing without even allowing the opponent to power revenge. Basically, you get a one shot with this character, no matter the HP. Also, I am not sure if I mentioned, he has one of the better feats from the cast. He has really good tier 2 winner's advantage that synergizes very well with his playstyle, which is a big team fighter that swings his wide unblockables around, and this tier 2 helps buffs the unblockables with 20% extra damage. So you have the very wide hitboxes and blockables that used to do 42 damage, which is still a lot of damage. 42 damage is nothing to joke about, especially for something that is as easy to land as Zanhu's unblockables. You get that and you buff them another 20%, it's 49 damage. That's very high for pre-CCU standards. But and right now it's pretty much insane. It's pretty much the second best team fighter in the game, maybe even debatable for the best. But the character that is the best team fighter right now, and that is next to Zanhu in A tier, is Mrs. Nobushi. So Nobushi, this is your long-time main, Mr. Clutchmeister. What do you think of her? Why is she such a good team fighter?
There's multiple aspects to her that make her such a good team fighter. So first of all, her zone. In her rework, they basically buffed the stamina cost of it, so you can use the zone attack a lot more often in team fights, and it still has the same strengths as it always had. If you dead angle the zone, it's extremely fast. If you position people on your right hand side, your dodge cancel recoveries are always going to be able to externally block the punish attempts, because the dodge cancel recovery just makes it so that the recovery is so fast that even characters with like 500 MS neutral peel moves aren't going to be able to punish you for it if they are on your right hand side and you're externaling them. And then they also gave her the ability to either kick soft feint halfway through the zone animation or to do undodgeable heavies. Now, this part of the move isn't exactly, you know, like a massive thing. It's, you know, it's not massively powerful. It gives opponents more to worry about after a Nobushi throws out the zone to peel for someone. And the good thing about Nobushi kick in team fights is that you don't necessarily have to land the damage yourself, because if you try to land the damage yourself, you're just increasing the amount of time you are vulnerable to an enemy peeling and dealing damage to you. The hit stun of the kick is ridiculously long. If you compare, let's say, like a Warlord headbutt, if he just bashes them without doing the confirm light, the hit stun's a lot shorter. A lot of the time you need to go for that confirm light so your teammate can get the heavy off if they're reacting to your bash. Nobushi's kick is actually a really long hit stun, even without needing to go for the follow-up. So a lot of the time, your teammates can react to when this kick lands and get a guaranteed heavy off. And Nobushi can just go into hidden stance instead of confirming the damage off of it, which again will just make people whiff if they try to go for like a heavy peel, which is what a lot of people do. They see the Nobushi land the kick, they think, oh, he's going to go for the punish. I can get a lot of damage and peel for my teammate here, and then you can just hidden stance and then again punish. And then go into more like either sidewinders or another hidden stance. And this is the thing about Nobushi, is that she has so many ways of avoiding peel attempts and being safe with like her dodge cancels, her hidden stance. And this is just her zone. Other than her zone, she has her dodge attacks. Sidewinder is a good tool to use against, let's say you're trying to be pressured, someone's trying to pressure you with like a Warlord, a Black Prior, you dodge the bash, you get guaranteed punish with the Sidewinder, and then you get to go into a little, you know, most high-level competitive players can react to the Nobushi mix-up, but if you're in the middle of a team fight and they've got multiple things to worry about and not just the Nobushi, they will definitely not be reacting as consistently, so you get that guaranteed damage, which is either going to be 16 or 20 if they're already bleeding, and then you get to go into more potential damage after it, so it is a really good bash punish. She also has Cobra Strike, which is an even better peel tool, because not only can you use this the same way that you can use Sidewinder to punish bashes, you can use this to punish a lot of moves because it has so much range. So let's say there's a lot of distance between you and your teammate. You see your teammate just got GB'd. You can dodge forward Cobra Strike from a long distance away, get the guaranteed punish, and then you can use your dodge cancels to avoid any punish. Let's say you're a little closer and you see your teammate, let's say, just get bashed by someone. You can say side dodge to your right to Cobra Strike to peel if you have an enemy on your right hand side. So when you dodge cancel, your guard will be left on your right hand side, because essentially wherever the attack comes from during your dodge attacks is where your guard is going to be when you use your dodge cancel recoveries. So you always try and use these dodge attacks so that you leave your guard up on the correct side of wherever the enemies that are going to try and peel you are coming from. And this is another thing that makes Nobushi be so safe, is because you can choose a lot of the time where you want your guard to be when you use these dodge cancel recoveries. So let's say there's a Jean Hu on the enemy team. He has a 600 MS undodgeable zone attack, which is a really strong peel tool. However, if you do a left dodge into your Cobra Strike, which is a left dodge into a light attack, and then use your dodge cancel recovery, even if the Jean Hu is on your right hand side or in front of you, you're still going to block that follow-up, and it's too slow to get a guaranteed punish off on Nobushi. And the cherry on the cake for Cobra Strike is that it only deals 3 physical damage and the rest of it is bleed. And with the way this game calculates revenge, unless the devs hard code in revenge feed to the initial part of the attack, like they just did with Skewer on Gladiator, it only calculates the revenge game based on that physical damage out. So even though the Cobra Strike will end up dealing 15 or so damage, the actual revenge feed is only going to be equivalent to that 3 damage. This means that Nobushi is one of the very few characters in the game who can still peel enemies even if they have multiple revenge tags applied, because of the amount of damage that she's going to be dealing with Cobra Strike. It's so small physically, she's going to give hardly any revenge, even if they have like 3 or 4 tags applied to them. Like, not many characters can do that. So she can always peel for her team, which is crazy. It's one of the reasons, it's an advantage she has even over someone like Kensei and Jean, who are 2 of the other best team fighters in the game. They don't have anything like this that they can use. If someone has tags and they're high revenge, they can't peel. They have to wait for those tags to wear off, unless they just have to save a teammate and give them revenge. Nobushi has Cobra Strike, and she also has Viper's Retreat. The advantage of Viper's Retreat, which is her backwards plus light attack, It's faster than Cobra Strike. Cobra Strike is 600 milliseconds. Viper's Retreat is 500, so it's faster, but it has less range. And there's also a slightly bigger disadvantage, a slightly smaller disadvantage to Viper's Retreat over Cobra Strike is that it deals 5 physical damage instead of 3. So it will feed a little bit more revenge, but it's still hard. It's still not much at all. It's only 5. So it's still going to be feeding very little revenge. So you can use both of these peel tools to peel people even if they have multiple tags up. And I think she's the only character in the game who has a bleed that deals such little physical damage that also has a lot of range on it. There's characters, like PK who have the bleed stab, there's Shaman who has the bleed stab, which also aren't going to feed much revenge at all, but they have nowhere near the range that Nobushi has. So Nobushi can actually use these tools in a team fight from long range, combined with you being able to choose where your guard is going to be when you dodge cancel. It just means that she can peel in situations other characters can't, whilst also being safer than other characters are, which is what makes her an insanely strong team fighter. However, there's one more thing I do want to say, is that obviously we are seeing Jean-Hu in the meta at the moment, and Nobushi is actually one of the best characters in the game against a Jean-Hu. The reason this is because Jean-Hu is forced to block on whatever side he dodge cancels on. So let's say a Jean-Hu bashes someone in a team fight and then wants to dodge away from you because he doesn't want to get, say, guard broken. He doesn't want to eat a huge amount of damage, so he attempts to dodge away from you. The problem with this is that he's forced to have his guard facing away from you. So what Nobushi can do is go into her hidden stance, and her top undodgeable heavy from her hidden stance has a really long amount of tracking. It will track people at a really far distance. So you can go into this hidden stance, and then the Jean-Hu is forced to dodge correctly. He either has to dodge into you, so he's externally guarding you, or he has to dodge forward so his guard is on top to avoid the top heavy, because if he tries to dodge away from you, he's just going to eat the top heavy. And there's usually so much going on in a team fight. The Jean-Hu is at least sometimes not going to be able to keep an eye on the Nobushi, recognize when he's in peel range, and then dodge in the correct direction. So you're going to be getting either 29, or if the Jean-Hu is bleeding, 35 damage that's undodgeable whenever the Jean-Hu makes a correct either read or just dodges incorrectly because he's unaware with those undodgeable heavies from hidden stance, which is a really strong tool to have. And I can speak from experience playing against good Jean-Hus with Nobushi. They do eat these undodgeable heavies quite a lot, even if they are aware of your positioning, because it's just not always possible to dodge in the correct direction.
All right, so I'm pretty sure it's very clear now why Nobushi is the better team fighter. Actually, is why she is the best team fighter right now in the game. On top of being able to counter Jean-Hu, she has, the ability to peel people with revenge tags, something that she's the only character that has a bleeding attack that is fast and with enough range to do that. So she's basically the team fighting queen right now. And that is it with A tier. These are the 6 characters that right now the meta is in EU. In EU teams basically play around these 6 characters. There's less variety outside this, but there's still other characters that can be picked at a disadvantage, not necessarily a big one, but if you want to have the best composition right now, it's usually made out of these 6 characters. So yeah, we can finally move on to B tier. We're gonna talk a bit less now. We wanted to make sure it's understood why these 6 characters are very, very good. These characters are more self-explanatory, they're all very good and they all have great abilities that are very obvious in team fights. But from the ones that stand out, it's these 6 characters that are here. So first character in B tier that are viable characters for competitive play. already established that these three characters are from this tier. So basically, every other character outside S and S minus tier are competing for the fourth pick. So it's about what can they bring that also synchronizes with these three characters that are from S tier and S minus tier in order to make the best composition possible. So first of all, first character in B tier that has been played in Dominion series quite a bit and is expected to still be played a lot is Kensei. So Clutchmeister, would you like to say why Kensei is such a good hero?
Well, Kensei is very similar to Nobushi in terms of the reasons why he's played. He's an extremely good team fighter. He's extremely safe. His sidelights, on top of having really good hitboxes where it's possible to peel more than one person at once, if they actually land on the person he's lighting, have incredibly fast recoveries. So whereas Nobushi uses her dodge cancel recoveries to be safe, he just gets block recovery up really, really quickly when he connects with them. So he doesn't even need to dodge. He doesn't need to make himself vulnerable to, say, like a guard break. He can just recover his block really quickly to prevent any like fast neutral peels. And then if someone tries to guard break him, he can just go into his chain heavy, which has 100 MS vulnerability and will also be dealing quite a bit of damage. And then if that chain heavy lands, he gets to use those target swapped confirm chain finisher lights, which is one of the reasons why he's so good at team fighting, is he can confirm so much damage off of whether forward light, a chain heavy, a swift strike. He can, if there's someone for him to target swap onto to dead angle his chain finisher lights, it just increases all of the damage he lands off of these moves, which can result in people just losing their health surprisingly quickly whenever a Kensei is around. And he has big hit stuns on his heavy attacks. The reason why this is important is because obviously Warlord is in every single team at the moment, and if you time your heavies and the headbutts correctly, you can actually get triple every single one of his heavy chains confirmed off of a single landed Warlord headbutt, which is obviously a lot of damage. Other characters like Nobushi, for example, have a lower hit stun. I think it's a medium hit stun on the Nobushi heavies compared to Kensei, who has like an actual heavy hit stun, which means they aren't hit stun for as long off of the heavies, which makes it a much stricter timing for the Warlord to actually follow up with the bashes. And this is strength that Kensei has that a character like Nobushi doesn't.
Yep. So basically, to sum it up, Kensei is another very good team fighter. His advantage over these two is the fact that he has way better heavies with way wider hitboxes. He has way more punishes on like dodge attack and heavy, because he can get a guaranteed light afterwards. Very good feats, very similar to these two. Slightly worse, but still very good character. Still very, very picked in good compositions. All right. We're gonna have to do this faster now because we've already talked a lot. Next character is Worm Monster. So Worm Monster has the same role as these other three characters. She's a very good team fighter. But what Worm Monster has is not necessarily the best team fighting capabilities out of her moveset, but the best team fight capabilities out of her tactical use of feats. So by now, most of you know how powerful Infection is, especially after the first Dominion series where she had 100% pick rate. Basically, she allows characters to be isolated in a team fight by applying Infection on them, and everyone in Infection is gonna take damage. Therefore, people have to leave the player with Infection alone, which means you have free gank in the middle of a team fight. It's a 4-4 team fight, someone is infected, it means that person is alone. He's not going to get help. Therefore, you can basically gank up on him. She has worse team fight capabilities outside her moveset, but if you do use her if you do rotate her tactically, basically have her boost side points and be the more defensive character while her tier 1 is on cooldown, and then send her in the fight when she has tier 1, she can get a lot of value out of it. Because once you apply the tier 1 on someone and you execute a correct gank, you basically destroyed one person out of the team fight. He's dead. And there's nothing you can do if you gank correctly. And on top of it, she has one of the best tier 4s, probably the second best after Shigoki's. So yeah, amazing character. And what she also has above the other characters is better 1v1 capabilities. She is one of the best 1v1ers, and she does very well against a lot of the heroes in here. She might struggle a bit against Centurion, but outside that, she should be very good, right?
She also will struggle a lot against Shigoki because she inevitably relies on read-based offense, which means she's going to get guard broken sometimes, and Shigoki gets insane punishes near walls with Demon's Ball, so she would probably struggle quite a bit with Shigoki as well.
Yeah, but if you can also look at it from a defensive point where Shigoki has to do his heavies to start get his to access his chain headbutt, which on parry Warmonger can get 28 damage, which is insane. So it's my god, it's very hard for Shigoki to start attacking to attack War Monster, while it's also a bit hard for War Monster to attack Shigoki. Okay, next character is Black Prior. So Black Prior is he's a team fighter, but he's very good in 1v1s. His feats are very defensive and team oriented. Like they're used to help people. For example, you can think of the shield, or you can think of the tier 3, which is a tactical feat that removes revenge, which allows people to gank easier in a team fight or in a 2v1 and reduce the amount of time it takes to kill someone in a 2v1. He has very good 1v1s, but the thing he lacks is good peel or good damage in team fights. But one thing that he has that makes up for it is his flip. His flip, especially in big mid-team fights, is very, very good, because basically once you flipped someone, it means the person that was on the other side on their minions is now behind enemy lines in your minions and surrounded by people, which basically means enemy team has to push or help Black Prior in a sort of way so it can come back in your line of minions, so you don't take a lot of damage. But obviously, being in enemy minions is a very bad thing to do. You have to worry about taking damage constantly. You have to guard the direction they're attacking you, so you really don't want to do that. So once BP has put someone in enemy minions, you have a huge advantage on that player. But outside that, he's a very, I don't want to say bad character, but he's not as good as a team as good as a team fighter as this guy is. So yeah, that's where he lacks. He lacks in normal moveset, but makes up a bit of it in 1v1, and his feats are good. They're not insane, but they have very good defensive capabilities. Alright, next hero is Griffin. So Griffin is an okay team fighter. Is not insane. Wait, where is Griffin? Do you see him? Oh, here. So he's not insanely good in a team fight, but one thing that he does have going for him is really, really good fits. He has that are unbanned right now in the Dominion series. He has average 1v1s. He has okay team fights, not the best. He doesn't have really that good of a neutral peel, and his dodge attacks are very unsafe, which means they cannot really be used that much. But once you do have fits with him, you can actually survive a team fight way longer, especially if he's tier 4. So yeah, that's why he is here. Alright, we're gonna do this faster. Next character is Aramusha. So I know you want to talk about Armusha because you proposed him to be way higher. Initially, I thought he's low, but you brought up some really good arguments, and you convinced me that Armusha is actually a very good viable pick. Why is Armusha a very good viable pick?
Well, Aramusha, so since his rework, he has a truly unreactable soft fame bash. Kind of functions the same kind of way as Kensei Pommel Strike, except he can do it from any direction. And what makes it so good is that you can slightly delay after it lands to throw another. This works pretty well as a mix-up in 1v1s. You know, it's constantly forcing the opponent to make reads, but it's really good in ganks because it functions exactly the same way as like double bash gank. So you can confirm double heavies with it, for example. And unlike characters say like Warlord BP who have 500 MS bashes, which are reactable pretty consistently, at least at the very top level of competitive For Honor on PC, his bashes aren't. So you're always going to have to be making a read, which obviously is going to make it a lot easier to actually land damage in these situations. He also has an extremely fast chain into his blade blockade after whiffing an attack, which makes it very difficult to actually punish him in teamfights. So let's say you're playing a Nobushi, you see a Jean who hits someone either with a heavy or maybe they go for like a dodge forward heavy as peel, and then you want to go for your zone or you want to go for your Cobra Strike. The Aramusha can just instantly blade blockade after that attack and then punish after blade blockading your attempted peel, which can make him pretty safe for team fights as well. And he has really good feats. You know, he has a Juggernaut again, as you said earlier. It's a very common trend. Any character that has Juggernaut is going to be pretty good because it gives you that guaranteed stall time. Has Second Wind, it's good in the current meta, and he also has Fear itself, which can single-handedly win team fights.
Right. So that sums up Aramusha. Next character in B tier viable picks is Jung. So Jung is also another of your mains, Mr. Golden Dragon. How do you feel the changes affected him in his placement?
I feel like he's still very similar as he was before because his whole game plan hasn't really changed at all. He's still a team fighter that doesn't have neutral peel, but instead relies on chaining into his really big, easy to access side unblockables and getting his team to either set them up or to peel people from a long distance away with said unblockables. He's gotten some extra tools. For example, his Shifu Swirl, which is his zone attack out of his Shifu stance, is now unblockable. So you can use to avoid attacks that aren't locked onto you or non-undodgeable attacks which are locked onto you, and then get more easy access to guaranteed punishes, which is good. And then you can obviously chain into your unblockables so your teammates can try to confirm them. So it has improved his team fight ability. He now has a 500 MS bash with a 300 MS input delay. Now, what I mean by this is when you dodge forward to go into this bash, you have to wait a minimum of 300 milliseconds before the bash can come out. This is very different from characters like Warlord, Black Pride, Conqueror, who only have to wait a minimum of 100 MS, which gives the opposing player a lot more time to recognize you might be going for a bash, which means they can react faster to it. So as an offensive tool, it's not good, but it does allow him some potential for some good gank setups. Like, for example, how Simba can go for his unblockable heavy to set up Sengank. You can probably do the same with Zhang Jun, and it's going to guarantee a lot of damage. And you can also probably set up things with Gladiator as well. For example, if he lands a blocked heavy, you can do the kick into the confirmed skewer into follow-up. But in terms of an actual 1v1 offensive tool, it's actually probably worse at high level than his old kick. Yes, you used to be able to react to the dodge forward heavy to try and stuff the attempt with a kick. However, the actual 400 MS soft fame bash was truly unreactable. So no matter what level of player you were going up against, it could still land sometimes. However, his new bash is not like that. It is pretty easy to react to for the very top players in competitive. So I would say his 1v1 offense potential actually did get decreased, but at least his guard breaks don't whiff anymore after feinting his unblockable attacks, which is a nice change. So yeah, he definitely did get slightly better, but he still, at the end of the day, is a team fighter that doesn't have neutral peel, which is going to hold him back at the end of the day.
Alright, moving on to new character, another reworked character, which is Hitokiri. So Hitokiri is a bit different from the characters here. As you've noticed, there is a trend of really good team fighting characters. Hitokiri is not necessarily the best team fighting character. She is pretty good at it, but not insanely good. What she does have is very good 1v1s and very good fits, especially her tier 4, which basically allows her to obliterate one character. Her zone attack is okay in team fights. It's not as good as some other zone attacks from here, but she can do some work. And she also does have some really good potential to kill people in 2v1 with high revenge by allowing her to 1v1. So she's really right now a big 1v1 specialist that has some teamfight potential and has some really good feats that allow her to be very powerful in 2v1 as well, may I add, since she has righteous deflection, I think it's called. She has tier 1, which is restless. It's not the best, but it works quite okay with Hitokiri, as it allows her to be in the offense a lot. And her tier 4 is basically a one-shot. You can set up with someone GB for tier 4. Basically, you go up to someone, you tier 4, and your teammate GBs, and they're dead. So how I see right now Hitokiri is like as the ultimate defensive character, as in she's going to be the person that is defending home and nobody really wants to contest her, and if two people contest her, it's hard to gank her because she has very good anti-ganking abilities, and then on top of it, 1v1ing her is basically a death wish. So yeah, Hitokiri in B tier, a good pick, a good fourth. Alright, next character in B tier after Hitokiri is Mrs. Shaman. So she's a bit of a special case. As you've noticed, most of these characters are a team fighter, but Shaman has a different role. She is a ganker. But the thing about Shaman is she has quite some competition when it comes to the ganking category, which is Centurion and Gladiator, and compared to them, she just doesn't bring enough value. But she's still a very good character. I mean, 1v1 wise, she's very good. 2v2 wise, she's not the best, but she does have some very fast punishing dodge attacks, and she also has an unblockable that she can work with. She has very long range peeling dodge heavies that are not so fast but can interrupt people from distance while she's safe. She has one of the best peels and chase in the game, which is one important factor. She has good fits, except for her tier 4. Her tier 4 it cannot be Fire Blast because Warlord already uses Fire Blast. But she has a trap setup that is not the worst. She has the first trap, Storming Trap, Bear Trap, and the Bleed Trap, the tier 4 trap. I'm not sure what it's called, but if you stack them up together and you put them on a point, she can basically one-shot someone, unless they have second wind. So the conclusion is Shaman is a good ganker, but not as good as Centurion and Gladiator, and she's very good at defending points with traps, and very decent 1v1. Even if you don't have the full traps, just the fact that you have traps on the point and people don't know where the traps are, she can make the 1v1 way more favorable, as the player has to focus on the Shaman and on where the traps are. And mediocre team fighting with very good chase and very good 1vx capabilities, and very good 1vx capabilities. Especially once you pop revenge, you have like a very high damaging punish as well, I'm pretty sure. Alright, next character is, I mean, first of all, I would like to say that B tier is over. Like, this is the whole B tier. These are mostly the characters used. What comes after C tier, you can technically use them, but they're not as good as these guys. They're good enough to be used, but they are at a disadvantage. You are at a disadvantage if you use them. First character is Nuksha. So Nuksha is a very good character. In 1v1s, she can kill someone very quick. And she's also a very good surprise hero right now. A lot of people don't know how to play against her. But one thing that makes her really good is her tier 2. So she has a fit called Cold Chops that once dropped creates an area where people cannot be in, and because they will take damage over time. And I think it's insane amount of damage. It's like 2 damage per tick. Not per tick, per movement actually. It revolves around moving in the Cold Chops. So basically this means you have the option to go with Nuksha on an enemy point, drop the Cold Chops, and they last for 30 seconds. So during those 30 seconds, nobody is allowed to touch you or come near you. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Nuksha is the ultimate stalling character that has very good chase, very good running speed, decent 1v1, and lacks a lot in team fighting and fits outside tier 1. But if she would be given some changes, she would be way better. Like, let's say a better zone that can peel way for some better tier 3 and tier 4. Next character after Nuksha is Tiandi. So Tiandi is actually not the worst team fighter. He actually does have some he does have a good zone. He does have a bash that can help people gank with. He does have a good gank with kick as well. The problem with him right now is that he has very, very selfish fits. Basically, a lot of the best fits that are in For Honor are fits that can help bring something to a team fight. But the fits that Tiandi have are very, very selfish. Basically, it can make him a monster in 1v1 with his tier 3 and tier 4, but outside that doesn't really bring much, except for one fit that is actually being underlooked a bit, but has the potential to bring a lot, especially against characters like Gladiator and Nobushi. And that fit is Sacrifice. A fit that one spot, it will damage Tiandi, but it will make everyone around him heal for a certain amount of time, which means it will basically negate bleed damage. So against characters that, against compositions that have a lot of bleed characters running, his tier 2 is very, very good in big team fights. Even though it makes him take damage, it will help everyone around him survive way longer. But he also, to make up for it, he has a healing fit, but it only works when he's low. So yeah, Tiandi is very situational, but in the situation where he can be used, he is not a bad character at all. On top of being very good, not very good, being good enough in other categories. Right, next hero is Conqueror. So a lot of new players think Conqueror is very good, but why isn't he so good, Clutchmeister?
All right, so when you look at Conqueror's strengths, he basically has a lot of the same strengths as a character, say like BP or Warlord. He has the added benefit of the side dodge bash, which is going to make him stronger defensively in 1v1s, to make him harder to be attacked. Might help him anti-gank a little better as well, like off of guard break setups or off of other setups where he can use that bash. But first of all, he doesn't really have any peel in team fights. He kind of needs to be close to people to peel, either with lights or bash. He has no long range peel. BP usually gets kind of lambasted for not having enough peel in team fights, and even BP has more long range peel than the Conk does with his dodge forward heavy. Also, Conqueror just lacks feats wise compared to a lot of the top characters. So his tier 1 feat, it's okay. He's got body count, that helps him farm the minion lane. He can help him get a little bit of healing if the side points aren't available. And he has Shield Basher, which obviously is a really good feat because it makes his bashes deal more damage, makes his his bash punishes with the side dodge bashes hit for more damage, and also increases his punishes on walls as well because the throw deals damage. However, his tier 3 and tier 4 feats, for lack of a better way of wording it, are just not very good at all. His tier 3 feats, you're probably going to be running either heal on block, or you're going to be running Pugno Mortis to help clear minions more often. And then the tier 4 feats, you literally have a choice between Regenerate, Catapult, or Uninterruptible, and all of them are rather substandard. I think Regenerate's probably the best one because you're just going to get good healing whenever you need it. However, it's very selfish. It's not exactly going to win team fights because you have to leave a team fight and jog around for a little bit just to get healing back. And that's what one of his major weaknesses right now. Even if he had really good peel, even if he had something to set him apart from Black Prior with really good peel, his feats would just let him down at the end of the day.
All right, that has been explained pretty well. Next character is actually one of my mains. It's Berserker. So the reason that Berserker isn't so good at higher levels is, first of all, the biggest problem I think has is not the best feats right now, especially in the tier 2 place. He has Bounty Hunter in tier 1, which is not a bad feat, but tier 2 is basically useless at this point. I mean, he gets a bit of health on execution, but other than that, he has basically no peel in team fights. He's one character that is very hard to do anything with if people focus your teammates, because yes, he can dash around the team fight with his new dodge attack, but if multiple people are in a team fight, there's really no safe way to peel. On top of it, he's a character that is made around trading with people, but when health is very important in a game like Dominion, you cannot really afford yourselves to get in that many trades, as it's very easily to be out-traded and you don't do enough damage to justify going for those trades. So in the long run, trading is not the most efficient way to get value out of Berserker. What Berserker is really good at is anti-ganking. You can try to send him as someone to stall, similar to Nuksha. The thing is, Nuksha just does that better with her tier 2, but Berserker has slightly better team fighting than Nuksha. He also has one more thing going for him. He has a scuffed gank, I guess. It's GB for zone. The thing about it is that it can go wrong a lot of ways, but if it doesn't go wrong, it's a very quick way to do some damage real fast. But outside that, the ganking, his other abilities are just outclassed by the characters about. Right, next character is Peacekeeper. So why is Peacekeeper so low? I mean, she has very good offense. Would you like to talk on Peacekeeper, Clutchmeister?
Sure. So Peacekeeper, she's definitely not bad. She's a decent team fighter. She still does quite a bit of damage on her dodge attacks. She has some of the very best offense in the game in 1v1 situations. It's probably between her and Shaman who have the best. And if you make good reads with your offense, you can kill people faster than a vast majority of characters in the game. However, she does have some weaknesses. So first of all, she lacks good feats in the tier 2 and tier 3 slots. She has a good tier 1, one of the best in the game, Bounty Hunter. She has a good tier 4 feat as well with Fear itself. Already touched on that a couple of times with other characters. However, the tier 2 and tier 3 slots are kind of lacking. In tier 2, you're either running Lux, Fiat Lux, or the Thick Skin. And in the tier 3 slot, you're either running Sharpened Blade and Crossbow, and pretty much all of those choices are not one of the best in both slots. So during the mid game, she's going to kind of be lacking any kind of power spike from these feats like other characters are going to get, whether it's, say it's like Warlord with his Fury unlock, or you get someone like, say, Nobushi with Second Wind that's going to be able to stall better and get those big heals off and to counter, powerful tier 4 feats. And she lacks external pressure in team fights unless someone's bleeding. So it's like she needs to get someone bleeding to have any external pressure, whereas like a character like Warmonger at least has a side dodge heavies or a mix-up. BP has the bash or the bulwark slash, Jeanhu has the bash, etc. Or Nobushi, like she doesn't really have external pressure either, but she has like the peel to make up for it, or teammate could just GB for a free bleed that PK doesn't really have the same kind of effectiveness with, because she has to be a lot closer for it. She has the reflex guard, which can be a problem, as you touched on before, because health totals are important. It can, like, your defense is never going to be as good with reflex guards as it is with stable guard, no matter how good your reaction times are, because the guard is just going to drop sometimes. You have to refresh it sometimes, which can cause free hits to be landed. She does have a gank, but it's not the best. You dodge forward heavy into delay bleed stab, guaranteed heavy for like a teammate, and then you try to confirm a follow up if it's possible. But this is kind of the problem with her. Like she's a really good 1v1er, but she doesn't really do anything else exceptionally well. She doesn't anti-gank particularly well, because she doesn't really have bashes to set up, or to stop guard break setups, or to stop other setups and then use mind games off of them. If she tries to use a zone and she gets parried, it can lead to full 100% setups. Team fighting is decent but not amazing. She doesn't have an amazing gank. It's only the 1v1 she's really good at, and she doesn't have amazing feats, so that's why she's in C tier.
All right. And next character after Peacekeeper is Slowbringer. This is another character you've played, so I will let you talk about him, and I will talk on the next, as I've played the next character.
Okay. Well, Lawbringer, in comparison to Peacekeeper, he actually isn't necessarily amazing at any one thing, but he's pretty good at more than one thing. So 1v1s, he is extremely good defensively. So he's really good at just stalling out a 1v1, stopping people from wanting to attack him, because he can punish bashes on reaction with his side dodge bash. And then not only does he get the guaranteed punish, he goes into his unblockable heavy mix-up. So he can land a lot of damage off of every single dodge bash. And then he has impale off of parries, which, considering how small the points are a lot of the time, you're almost always going to be able to hit a wall with your impale punishes. So you're going to also make it extremely dangerous for people to want to try and land attacks against you. And he also has a decent gank as well. GB into long arm for guaranteed double heavy, and then you can also try to confirm an opponent follow-up. Either you can go for chain bash, hope they don't react to it, or you can go for a light off of the heavy to try and set up a follow-up chain heavy from your teammate, which can land quite a bit of damage. And again, it's off of a guard break setup, so it's not like a bash setup where you can react to it at the highest level. You have to make hard reads, which obviously leads to more potential damage. You can use the long arm as well off of teammates' parry attempts. So let's say teammate parries a light, lands a heavy, you get confirmed long arm, you get to go into the double heavy, but at maximizing damage off of parry attempts as well. However, he's not an amazing team fighter. He lost the hyper armor on shove, which he kind of required to get into his unblockable heavies in the middle of team fights so that he could actually get damage off. So he finds it a lot harder to do that now. He has a zone with low recovery, which he can kind of use for peel, but it doesn't have an insane amount of range. And he has good feats, he has Juggernaut with a high health pool again, like Shug and the Warlord, which is really good for stalling ganks. Second Wind, and his tier 4 feat is still really good as well, because it has a lot of utility, not just for damage, but also for farming the minion lane, even if you're on a side point.
Alright, and that sums up Lawbringer. Next character in C tier, and is the last character that is viable. Oh, what? 1 second. Okay. And the last hero that is viable in competitive, but not so much played, is Shaolin. So one thing that Shaolin has that makes him first of all viable is another scuffed gank. Similar to Berserker and PK's, it's GP4 double light. He has very good rotation speed. And another very powerful tool that Shaolin has is a really good tier 3 that helps people heal in a team fight. So what you can see him as is discount Griffin in the way as he's the healer in the team. But until he gets his tier 3, it doesn't really bring that much value. He has very good chase, so that is one plus that he has. His team fighting is not the best. He has a very safe dodge attack that has very good hitbox. His zone has okay range, but not the best build abilities. And his Q stance is not the most useful in team fights. In 1v1s, it's very hard to get into your offense, but he has one thing going for him, which is his tier 2 that helps him really, helps him a lot chase the people that are fleeing from the team fight. So he's basically a chaser that also can heal. And his tier 4, I'm pretty sure it's teleport or fear itself. I'm not so sure. I think it's teleport that is used. Helps him rotate very, very fast at the end of the game, which can a lot of times save team fights, actually. It's not as powerful as other tier 4s, but it has some utility use. Alright, this is it with viable picks. These are the characters that could be on a team and not be throwing or doing something so wrong with it. From now on, all these characters are not viable for competitive, and some of them are really bad at you'd be throwing if you pick them. First character that is not viable at all is Valkyrie. So Valkyrie, she has nothing really going for her. I mean, she has mediocre team fighting, and mediocre only because she has okay range with dodge attacks, similar to how Berserker is, and she has okay sweep, but the problem is she can hit a lot of people. She can hit her teammates with it as well, and it's not the best. Her dodge bash is okay, but you don't really get much use out of it. Her 1v1s are okay. One thing that she does have going for her is Juggernaut, which is the reason the biggest reason she's above these other characters. So yeah, and she also has a good tier 3, not the best. It's similar to Trident, it's Javelin. The only downside is she doesn't have Fear itself to make up for it. Make the Javelin way higher damage, similar to how Gladiator does. Next character is Highlander. So Highlander is another character that doesn't have much going for him, but one thing that he does have going for him is his tier 4. So he has one of the best tier 4s in the game. Like, I'd say it's better than Flask, but worse than Shigoki's tier 4. Maybe, I think even better than War Monster's tier 4. It's the Spear Storm that can basically one-shots everyone in its radius. The problem with that is that it's very hard to get to his tier 4 because he doesn't really add much value to the team fight wise. He does have unblockables, but 1v1, but they don't bring that much value. He has mediocre zone, actually mediocre to bad. He has bad 1v1s, really bad 1v2s as well. And yeah, it's just a D tier character. Next is Warden. So Warden is a really good hero in 1v1, but he does lack a lot in 44. Why do you think it's that, Clutchmeister?
Alright, so if we're talking about team fights, he does have the zone, which has really low recovery. However, it eats up a lot of stamina, so you can't use it a lot in team fights. He also has Valiant Breakthrough, which has a lot of range. However, you can't really target swap it, and it does put you right into the middle of the team fight, and it's not the safest of moves to use. So his team fighting potential isn't amazing. He does have his unblockable heavies, but the problem is he can't use them from neutral. So like, whereas Warmonger at least can side dodge into her unblockable heavies to pressure people when she's target swapped into potentially dodging and landing a lot of damage, Warden actually has to throw out an attack or go into his bash mix-up first before he's able to use these unblockable heavies, so they're not as usable in these teamfight scenarios. He also doesn't have the best feats in the world. He has Come At Me tier 1, which is only a good feat if your later feats are really, really powerful, so you can unlock them earlier. However, if you don't have very good feats to unlock, the feat just isn't that great by itself. His tier 2 feats aren't particularly amazing. Inspire is okay. It's not great, but at least it's just something. But it's nowhere near as good as a lot of the other powerful tier 2s in the game. His tier 3, of course, the second one, which is good. And then tier 4 is either Stalwart Banner or Morale Booster. Both of those feats are like, they're good, but they're not amazing. They're not exactly going to single-handedly win your team fights. Stalwart is probably better because, it's going to cleanse the burning off of, like Fire Flasks or Jean Hu tier 4s, or it's going to cleanse bleeds off of Nobushis. However, it's, again, like, it's just not a very amazing feat. If you compare, say, like Stalwart to like a Phalanx, it's Phalanx map wide, and it's going to prevent more damage than the Stalwart is going to heal, and you have to stay in the Stalwart for a long period of time. So he lacks too much to really be a viable pick.
Next character in D tier is Shinobi. So Shinobi is, I guess you could consider him a ganker. I mean, he doesn't really fit another role. He's not necessarily a good ganker, but because he's bad everywhere else, I guess this is the only category where he stands out a bit. He has some teamfight prowess with ranged heavies, but one thing that he does lack is the good fits outside tier 2 that does a bit of damage. Is like kunai with multiple kunais. I forgot what its name. It doesn't really have that much going for him. His tier 3 and tier 4 are somewhat right. I think he has Sharpened Blade on tier 3, and on tier 4 I don't even remember. I think it's a feat that heals you on the hit. But it heals you for very little, and it's in general you're not gonna land that much with Shinobi. His main playstyle in teamfights is being on the side and trying to fish range GB or build with your range heavies. But the thing is, once you do put someone on Shinobi and make sure he doesn't do damage from afar, and he's not allowed to be free, doesn't have that much value. And even when he's free, he cannot put on that high damage. So yeah, that is why Shinobi is not viable for competitive play. And last character in D tier is Raider. So Raider is another character that doesn't really have that much teamfight prowess. He has wide heavies with hyper armor, but it's mostly chip damage that he does. So it doesn't really add that much value. But one thing that he does have going for him is okay feats that help other team fighters on your team do more damage. I'm talking about Battle Cry, Inspire, and he also has Flask if you don't run Warlord. But as you do usually run Warlord, his Flask is not so good, so he has to run Banner, which is not necessarily a bad fit, but outside okay mediocre fits, he doesn't really have anything else. He has his zone attack from neutral, which can apply some pressure in team fights, but that is about it. He has very bad 1v1s. He's just basically a buffy character, like very, very high health, but with nothing to show offensive wise. Right, and the last two characters that are unusable are Jormungandr and Orochi. So Orochi has absolutely nothing going for him. He has Like, he has bad fists, he has bad team fighting, he has bad 1v1s, he has bad 1v2s, he doesn't have a gank, so he basically brings absolutely nothing to the team, except a character with default moveset, like just light and heavy, and an unblockable. So yeah, definitely a really bad hero. With 120 HP as well. Jormungandr does have an unblockable with better range, and he does have better fits. You heal on landed bash, and you have a tier 4 that knocks everyone down. That can add some value, but until then he cannot really do that much. He's basically similar to Raider, but he doesn't even have the heavy pressure with hyper armor that can trade with other characters. He just has an unblockable finisher. He at least has an unblockable from neutral, which can add pressure if done externally. And yeah, he has a good tier 3 though. That is what he does after him. So compared to Orochi, he does do better, but he's not super good as well. He's not big prize either. Alright, and I think this is a tier list. What do you think of it, Clutchmeister?
Yeah, it looks very good to me.
Obviously, this is not final. I'll keep updating it, as I said in the intro. The link is in the description. For every change or every time we choose to change a character, I'll update it in the doc as well, or I will also leave a comment that is pinned, and I will make sure to let you know every time a change happens. So yeah, I hope you learned something here. Thank you very much, Clutchmeister, for being here and helping me with the tier list. Obviously, as I said, he's also a streamer. He streams every day. Definitely should check him out. He's basically one of the best places to go to if you want to learn how to play For Honor at a competitive level. Would you like to say something about yourself and promote?
Yeah, as you were saying, I stream almost every day of the week. Very occasionally might take a day off, but it's not very often. I'm usually doing some form of competitive stuff every day, whether it's academy, 2v2 scrims, 4v4 scrims, whether it's playing in 4v4 scrims, watching them, doing VOD reviews, and sometimes I'll also be just memeing around in MM with people, but I'm always there to answer questions if people have any general questions. There's a lot of high level, not just gank talk, like how do you gank or how do you play this character, but also a lot of general game sense discussion, like when you should push, why you should push, why a push was bad, tag management, all these kind of concepts that you won't really see any other Twitch channels stream full time talking about, at least not very regularly. So if you do want to improve at the game, then you should definitely come stop by at some point. And obviously me and Barak are usually scrimming together as well pretty regularly, so we'll be playing together as well whenever we're doing scrims or tournaments.
See, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you definitely go check out Clutchmeister, and yeah, I will have to edit here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.